Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. We are doing the chapter Environment and Natural Resources, and under this chapter, we were discussing the various steps taken at the global level for the purpose of protection of the environment and natural resources. And in this direction, the most important, we can say, the step taken by the at the global level was Rio Summit, or it is also called Earth Summit, which was held in the year 1992, which was held at in Brazil at Rio de Janeiro. And we have also seen that it is called United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. So this is called Earth Summit. This is called Rio Summit. It was actually UN Conference on Environment and Development. This is very important. In this chapter, the most important topic is this Rio Summit only. So you must pay attention, and it's not confusing if you pay attention properly. If you make effort from your side, then it is very easy to understand. But if you don't make effort, then it will be confusing for you. Okay, so this United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. Okay. Now you have to understand that ये तीनों जो है वो एक ही इवेंट का नाम है. ठीक है, ये इवेंट कब हुआ था? 1992 में. कहाँ हुआ था? ब्राज़ील में. ब्राज़ील में कहाँ? ब्राज़ील में रियो डी जेनेरो, है ना. ये प्लेस था जहाँ पर ये हुआ था. ओके. अब इसमें क्या चीज़ें कौन किन्होंने इसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया था, दैट इज़ ऑल्सो इम्पॉर्टेंट टू रिमेंबर. इट वॉज अटेंडेड by 170 states and thousands of non-governmental organizations and many multinational corporations. Okay, and now one more thing which is related to this Earth Summit, and that is FMCCC. Now we need to understand this. What do we mean by this? So it's UNFCCC. First of all, what do we mean by this? Okay. So this is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So what does it mean? So it's an international environmental treaty. Okay, UNFCCC is an international environmental treaty which was signed by 154 countries at the Rio Summit. जो अर्थ समिट हम बात कर रहे हैं, जो रियो समिट जो कि 1992 में हुआ था, उसी रियो समिट में ये यूनाइटेड नेशंस फ्रेमवर्क कन्वेंशन ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज इंटरनेशनल ट्रीटी हुई, जिस पर उसी समय 194 कंट्रीज़ ने साइन किया और इस तरह से ये इफेक्ट में आया. ओके, it came into effect in the year 1994. Okay, 1992 में रियो समिट हुआ था एंड जिसमें इस कन्वेंशन पे साइन हुआ और देन दिस कन्वेंशन केम इनटू इफेक्ट इन द ईयर 1994. Initially, we have seen that there were 157 countries who have signed this treaty, but at present we see that it is near universal. It has near universal membership because 197 countries have ratified this summit. 197 countries, while we see that the membership of the UN is 193. Latest, according to latest data, UN has 193 members, but there are 197 countries who have signed this, who have ratified this convention, who have signed this convention. So this is really a very positive step, we can say. And one more thing is that according to this convention, what is done that member states are bound. It is a kind of compulsion to act in the interest of human safety, to act in the interest of the nature, to act in the interest of the environment, and they are bound to do so. This is very important about this convention. And under this convention, we also see that the onus was put on the developed countries. As we have seen that the developed countries are far more responsible for spreading this pollution, so it was the demand of the developing countries that they should be given more responsibility, which was called common but differentiated responsibility. We all are responsible for making this earth clean, but our responsibilities are different. So it was accepted in this treaty, and it was made the responsibility of the developed countries to lead the way. They should be there to lead other countries in this cleanliness drive, which was going to be started. Okay, so in this way, this is very important. And other thing what we see, it was agreed that the largest share of historical and current global emission of greenhouse gases has originated in the developed countries because of a high growth rate of industrialization. So it was done by the developed countries. They are responsible for the emission of greenhouse gases. So it was also found that the per capita, if we see the per capita emission of these greenhouse gases, it is very high in the developed countries, and in the developing countries it is still relatively low. If we compare the per capita emission of greenhouse gases in the developed countries with the developing countries, we find that it is very low in the developing countries, and it is very high in countries, in developed countries. Developing countries like China, India, they must be exempted from any kind of restrictions, as we have discussed in the previous class. So whatever was discussed, that was implemented also through this UNFCCC. Through this convention, these restrictions were put on the developed countries. So this is very important to understand. And इसी ये जो कन्वेंशन हुआ, इस कन्वेंशन के ही एक फिर से एक आगे का जो स्टेप था, दैट वाज Kyoto Protocol, which is very important, है ना. These are the important steps taken by the international community to save our earth. So हमने रियो समिट को देखा, उससे जुड़ा हुआ उसी समिट में इस ट्रीटी पर साइन होता है और इसी ट्रीटी के अकॉर्डिंगली क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल होता है. तो अब हम देखेंगे क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल के बारे में. So this Kyoto Protocol, it was signed in the year 1997 and it was operational from 2005 to 2020. So it ran from 2005 to 2020. ठीक है, क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल. अब क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल जो है उसमें व्हाट वाज दिस, जो हमने अभी यूनाइटेड नेशंस फ्रेमवर्क कन्वेंशन ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज देखा, दैट वाज एन एग्रीमेंट. उसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ें तय की गई, डिसीजन लिया गया, एंड दोज डिसीजंस वर इम्प्लीमेंटेड थ्रू दिस क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल. ठीक है, जो डिसीजंस लिए गए उसको इस क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल से इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया. इट वाज द फर्स्ट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ मेजर्स अंडर द UNFCCC. जो UNFCCC में जो मेजर्स लिए गए थे उसको फर्स्ट टाइम इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया इसी क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल के साथ. और क्योटो के बाद फिर से एक एग्रीमेंट होता है उसी तरह का, क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल की तरह का ही, जो कि इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है UNFCCC का, and that is Paris Agreement, which was signed in the year 2016. ओके, तो अब हम क्या देखते हैं कि आज के समय में जैसे आई टोल्ड यू 197 members are there in the UNFCCC. Okay, and this UNFCCC has supreme decision making body which is known as Conference of the Parties. These countries which are Conference of the Parties, they meet annually to assess progress in dealing with climate change, whatever what is done in order to meet this challenge. For that purpose they meet annually. Who meet annually? The Conference of the Parties, which is the supreme decision making body of the UNFCCC. Okay, and what is done through this treaty, that it established, yes, the countries have differentiated responsibilities. All countries have not the same responsibility. Some countries are more responsible for the protection of the environment, for upgradation of the environment, and some countries are not that responsible. So actually through this treaty the countries were divided into three categories. The first is, we can say, developed countries. ठीक है, जो कंट्री को डिवीज़न किया गया वो तीन तरह की कंट्रीज़ में डिवीज़न हुआ. पहली जो कंट्री थी, ये हम बात कर रहे हैं UNFCCC की, और UNFCCC में जो किया गया, जो डिसीजन लिया गया, दैट वाज इम्प्लीमेंटेड बाय क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल, एंड क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल आगे बढ़ा पेरिस एग्रीमेंट से. तो नाउ वी आर अगेन बैक टू UNFCCC की. इसके अंदर क्या डिसीजन लिया गया था? ठीक है, डिसीजन यही लिया गया कि कंट्रीज को 3 पार्ट्स में बांटा गया. एक जो कंट्री थी 3 कैटेगरीज में बांटा गया. फर्स्ट कंट्री है डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज, ओके, तो ये जो डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज़ हैं, ये कौन से कंट्रीज़ हैं? ये वो कंट्रीज़ हैं जो कि इंडस्ट्रियली दे आर वेरी मच डेवलप्ड, है ना। और इसमें वो सारे कंट्रीज़ आते हैं, जैसे यूरोप के कंट्रीज़, है ना, यूरोप के अमेरिका, ये सारे कंट्रीज़ जो हैं वो इसी में आते हैं, जो कि इकोनॉमिकली कम्प्लीटली डेवलप्ड कंट्री है। अब जो दूसरा इनका कैटेगरी था, दैट वाज डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज विद स्पेशल फाइनेंशियल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज। डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज विथ स्पेशल फाइनेंशियल responsibilities. So in this category, what we find that all the countries of developed countries, जो first category वाले सारे countries में included, only with the exception of those countries which are in the phase of transition from dictatorship to democracy, from socialist economy to market economy, means the countries of Eastern Europe, they were kept out of this category, second category। ठीक है, फर्स्ट कैटेगरी में सारे डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज आ रहे हैं, सेकंड सारे डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज मतलब यूरोप के, अमेरिका के सारे कंट्रीज जो भी डेवलप्ड है, ओके। और सेकंड में जो डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज आ रहे हैं उसमें फर्स्ट वाले के उन कंट्रीज को हटा दिया गया है जो कि अभी ट्रांजिशन के फेज़ में, जहाँ पूरी तरह से डेमोक्रेसी और मार्केट इकोनॉमी इस्टेब्लिश नहीं हो पाई है, उनको उसी में छोड़ दिया गया, उनको यहाँ पर नहीं लाया गया। यू कैन जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड बाई द टर्म्स, these are the developed countries with special financial responsibilities. These countries are the most we can say the most economically developed countries, the second category जो है, and that is why they are given some financial responsibilities. Got it? किसको क्या किया गया वो अभी हम उसको फिर से बता रहे हैं। ये जो है थर्ड जो कैटेगरी है, दैट इज ऑफ द developing countries, the countries in which the process of development is going on, like our country China, these are all developing countries, okay। Now what does this treaty say for the developed countries? What is its requirement? It is compulsory for the developed countries in category 1 to adopt such national policies and to adopt such measures so that climate change can be reduced, and for that purpose they have to limit their emission of greenhouse gases, है ना, and they have to report on what steps they have taken in order to go back to the emission level of 1990, isn't it? 1990 के लेवल पे आपको वापस जाना है, अपने ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस के एमिशन को रिड्यूस करना है, और रिड्यूस करके आपको पीछे के लेवल पे जाना है, 1990 के लेवल पे जाना है, एंड इसकी आपको रिपोर्टिंग करनी है, एंड इट इज़ कम्प्लीटली कंपल्सरी फॉर दीज कंट्रीज टू फॉलो these provisions of the treaty, ओके। आपको ऐसे पॉलिसीज अडॉप्ट करने, ऐसे मेजर्स लेने हैं जिससे क्लाइमेट कंट्रोल, जिससे ग्रीन हाउस गैस भी कंट्रोल हो और ग्रीन हाउस का एमिशन 1990 के लेवल पे चला जाए, ओके। नाउ सेकंड कैटेगरी ऑफ जो कंट्री है, इनको ये कहा गया कि वो तो करना ही है आपको, जो फर्स्ट वाली कैटेगरी में तो आप हैं ही इंक्लूडेड, दीज ऑल कंट्रीज आर देयर इन द फर्स्ट कैटेगरी, तो वो तो आपको करना ही है कि अपने ग्रीन हाउस गैस को एमिशन को कम करना है, एंड यू हैव टू ब्रिंग इट बैक टू द लेवल ऑफ द 1990, दैट इज़ ओके। नाउ दे हैव सम एडिशनल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, एंड दैट इज़ फाइनेंशियल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। व्हाट इज़ दैट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी? It is their responsibility that they will help the developing countries in providing them financial resources so that these developing countries can meet the cost which is caused by which is caused because if they want to limit the emission of the greenhouse gases, then they will be in the need of technology. So these technology should be provided to them by these countries, developed countries with special responsibilities, and for that purpose they can give them financial aid also. That is why it is called this category, the countries belonging to this category are called developed countries with फाइनेंशियल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. इनकी फाइनेंशियल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है जो डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज़ हैं उनको आप हेल्प करिए ताकि वो जो ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस के एमिशन को रोकने के लिए, कम करने के लिए जो कुछ भी करना हो उसमें वो उनको हेल्प मिल सके. आप उनको टेक्नोलॉजिकल हेल्प दीजिए, आप उनको फाइनेंशियल हेल्प दीजिए. ओके, सो दिस इज द सेकेंड कैटेगरी. एंड थर्ड कैटेगरी कंट्रीज आर वही डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज. इनके लिए क्या कहा गया कि इनको अपने UNFCCC की जो सेक्रेटेरिएट है वहाँ पर अपने पूरे डिटेल्स इनको जमा करने होंगे. कहाँ पर किस फैक्ट्री से क्या कितना निकलता है, क्या होता है, ये सारी रिपोर्टिंग उनको करनी होगी. ओके, एंड but what we find that it is not followed by the countries very effectively because they are not adhering to their individual commitments, and that is why this UNFCCC has been criticized because it is not so successful in reducing the emission of carbon dioxide. So this is about our UNFCCC and the Kyoto Protocol. Okay, and now we will move to new topic, and the topic is the protection of global commons. Okay, now first of all we have to understand the meaning of global commons. Global commons से हम क्या मीन करते हैं? तो in order to understand global common you must be knowing the meaning of common. Common क्या होता है? Common we can say common resources are those resources which are not owned by any one individual or by any one country or community. Rather it is shared by all. Just be context में हम बात कर रहे हैं. If we are talking in the context of a locality, so the park will be the common property, isn't it? The park will be the common resource. If we are talking about a country, then the rivers, the forest, they are the common resources which are not owned by any particular community, any particular person, but it is owned by the all the people of the country. So when we are talking of the globe, when we are talking of the whole world, then in that case what do we mean by global commons? उस समय हम global commons से क्या mean करते हैं? तो in that sense global commons are those areas or regions of the world which are located outside the sovereign jurisdiction of any one state. They are not within the sovereign jurisdiction of any one state, because if they are within the sovereign state of the sovereign jurisdiction of any state, then those will not be global common places, है ना. अगर उसको कोई भी एक कंट्री ओन कर रहा है तो वो कॉमन नहीं हो सकता. देन दैट प्लेस विल बी owned by that country only, है ना. तो the first thing and the most important thing about global common that is that these are the places which are not which are located outside the sovereign jurisdiction of any one state, and that is the reason they are owned by the by the all the humanity, है ना. उसका ओनर कोई एक कम्युनिटी या कोई एक कंट्री नहीं है, बट इट्स ओनर्स आर ऑल द पीपल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, एंड दैट इज वाई these places need to be governed by common governance is required in these places. क्योंकि अगर कोई भी टेरिटरी है तो वहाँ पर गवर्नेंस तो होना ही होगा किसी न किसी फॉर्म में. तो the territory, the region is not owned by any country, so that region or that place will be there will be common governance by the international community. Okay, so इसमें कौन से आते हैं ग्लोबल कॉमन्स में, कौन कौन से प्लेसेस आते हैं. सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो हमारा स्पेस है ना, जहाँ पर कि हमारे लिए जो अनरीचेबल, जहाँ पर अनरीचेबल तो नहीं कहेंगे, एक्सेसिबल है, कैन गो देयर बाय रॉकेट, लेकिन वो किसी का नहीं है ना. द स्पेस डज नॉट बिलोंग टू एनीवन, जिसको आउटर स्पेस भी हम इसे कह सकते हैं. द आउटर स्पेस that is not owned by any particular country. Then the atmosphere of the earth. Okay, earth's atmosphere, that is also very important because अर्थ के हमारे जो कंट्री की जो टेरिटरी होती है वो पूरे एटमॉस्फेयर में नहीं होती है. जो ऊपर के पोर्शन होते हैं एटमॉस्फेयर के, दैट इज़ नॉट विद इन द टेरिटरी ऑफ द कंट्री. सो दैट इज़ ऑल्सो that also comes under global common. Then we have ocean floor, है ना. ओशन का जो फ्लोर होता है, दैट ओशन फ्लोर इज ऑल्सो नॉट ओन्ड बाय एनी सिंगल कंट्री. It is owned by the international community. And Antarctica. Antarctica is a continent which is not owned by any country, which is not owned by any we can say there is a lack of governance by a single country or single organization. This whole Antarctica, the whole continent is considered as global common. So there is the international community is there to do the governance in that place. So now we will have some extra information about Antarctica. Antarctica के बारे में अब हम लोग थोड़ी सी देखेंगे, जो इम्पोर्टेंट बातें हैं वो समझेंगे रिगार्डिंग अंटार्कटिका. So first of all, you must know the area of Antarctica, which is a global common. The area is 14 million square kilometers. Okay, and we see that it comprises 26% of the world's wilderness area. जो वर्ल्ड का वो एरिया है जहाँ पर कोई भी नहीं, जो अनइनहैबिटेड प्लेसेस हैं उसका ये 26% कंस्टिट्यूट करता है. दिस इज यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि कितना बड़ा एरिया है. जो जहाँ पर जो कि अनइनहेबिटेड है उसका 1/4 अराउंड अंटार्कटिका ही है ना. एंड इट रिप्रेजेंट्स 90% ऑफ ऑल टेरेस्ट्रियल आइस. टेरेस्ट्रियल जो ज़मीन पे अर्थ पे जो आइस है उसका 90% जो है वो हमको अंटार्कटिका में ही दिखता है. एंड पूरे प्लैनेट का अगर फ्रेश वाटर यहाँ पर है तो 70% फ्रेश वाटर यहीं पर अवेलेबल है. सो अंटार्कटिका की ये इम्पोर्टेंस है. एंड अंटार्कटिका जो है वो ओशन में भी उसका एक्सटेंशन है. इट इज़ ऑल्सो एक्सटेंडेड इन द oceans as well. And what we find here that it is the situation, the conditions are highly unfavorable, and it has a very limited terrestrial life. Life does not exist here. बहुत ही minimum life होता है, बहुत ही limited life होता है. बट यहाँ का जो अगर मरीन के इकोसिस्टम को हम देखें तो मरीन इकोसिस्टम जो है वो दैट इज़ गुड, दैट इज़ इन अ गुड कंडीशन. एंड इट comprises of some plants like algae, fungi and lichens. These are the important plants of this place, as these are the polar regions, and in polar regions these type of vegetations are grown up. So this is about the we can say flora is there, but fauna is not there because of the conditions which are prevailing in this place. This region play a very important role in maintaining the climatic equilibrium, because जो यहाँ पे situations हैं उसके कारण पूरे अर्थ का जो क्लाइमेट है उसमें एक तरह का एक इक्विलिब्रियम जो है वो मेंटेन हो जाता है. एंड नाउ द क्वेश्चन अराइजेज, हु ओन्स दिस रीजन, हु इज द ओनर ऑफ Antarctica? We see that there is controversy. There are two claims about it. Some countries are there like UK, Argentina, Chile, Norway, France, Australia, New Zealand. They make legal claims to sovereign right over Antarctica territory. They are of the opinion that they must have their claim over this region. While if we see other states other than these countries, they are of the opposite view, that Antarctica is a part of global common and it should not come in the jurisdiction of any state, as claimed by these countries like UK, Argentina, Chile, Norway, फ्रांस, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, न्यूजीलैंड. ये कंट्रीज़ जो क्लेम करते हैं कि नॉर्वे पर ये अंटार्कटिका पे उनका अधिकार होना चाहिए, दैट इज़ नॉट करेक्ट, है ना. अदर कंट्रीज़ का कहना है कि इट्स अ ग्लोबल कॉमन, सो देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी काइंड ऑफ ओनरशिप बाय any state of this place. So the controversy is on, but still we see that there are so many rules, environmental rules, in order to protect the Antarctic environment and its ecosystem. The whole Antarctica and Arctic polar areas, they have now they have been limited only to scientific research and fishing, tourism. These three, they are used for these three purposes: scientific research, fishing and tourism. And we see that since 1959 activities in this area is completely limited. It's not that anyone can do anything. It is very much limited. So many rules have been made so that the purity, the protection of the environment can be achieved in these regions, because as I told you, these are very important regions for the purpose of climatic equilibrium. Okay, so this is what is important about Antarctica. So we will continue this discussion in the next class.